Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's live Q&A discussion is what I'm going to call it. I decided to start to bring a real topic every week to these live Q&A discussions because it always seems to get the crowd going when I bring up a topic that seems to affect a number of people. And so today I'm going to be talking on this video about how you can, as a parent, intuitively analyze the therapy that you're having, whether it's ABA, speech therapy, occupational therapy, acoustic therapy, whatever kind of therapy that you are working with now or you are investigating for your child. I'm going to show you on this video how to intuitively analyze that therapy or methodology, and so that you can make a decision about whether it really continually serves your child and your family in the way that you want to see your child make improvement or not, and make that decision yourself. Because I have talked to hundreds and thousands, actually, of families over the years, and the one thing that I know is that there's lots of influence from professionals, doctors, therapists, friends, neighbors, families, the lady at the grocery store that comes at parents. And the only way that you're going to be able to make the best decisions for your child and your family is by intuitively analyzing all of that information as it comes in and making the decisions that sit well in your heart. And that's why you use your intuition to evaluate pretty much everything. That's what I have learned to do in my life, and I let my intuition guide me through my entire process of becoming an intuitive speech and language pathologist consultant. By the way, my name is Marcy Melzer, and I am an intuitive speech and language pathologist consultant. I shifted my career away from working as a speech therapist into being a consultant. So now full-time, what I do is I talk to parents and equip and empower them through our sessions by giving them strategies to navigate and intuitively analyze all of the speech and language development circumstances that happen in their lives. And as a result of them taking the responsibility to do the language facilitation themselves, to become language facilitators and really take on the mindset and persona that their children need. That's how these parents are seeing progress. So I thought that it was important today that I share with you how to go ahead and decide. So if you're watching this video and you have you're questioning the method, maybe someone is presenting you with a method and you're not sure about it, or you have some skepticism, I'm going to talk to you today about how to make that decision. So the first thing that you need to do in the entire process is to understand your child's problem, the root cause of their late talking. If it is a medical issue like prematurity, or there are a million reasons. Something that's been documented with the doctor, a syndrome, a physiological illness. I'm not talking about an autism diagnosis. I'm talking about a physiological medical problem. So, hey, Lee, thanks for joining me today. If you have a question or you have a comment about this ABA process in making a decision, go ahead and put it in the comment section of this video, and you'll be able to go ahead and I'll respond to it as soon as I get there going. So, so here's the thing. If it is a documented medical problem, like ear infections, a syndrome, something that's been able to be tested on a blood test or a some sort of a chemical imbalance, something like that, toxicity, all of those things that have been identified. The root cause that could contribute to late talking has been identified by a doctor. The first thing you need to do before you do any kind of behavior intervention is work on those medical issues. Because if you decide, okay, my child has ear infections and I'm going to use behavior therapy before you rectify the ear infections, the behavior therapy won't have any, they won't help your child. It's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a gallbladder problem. It's an internal problem that you're trying to deal with an external solution. So if the root cause of your child's late talking is medical, the first thing you need to do is address those medical issues. And every child is different, so that's how you work with your doctors and things like that. So you can't believe, the first thing you have to intuitively understand is that until your child is well, until they are feeling good, their immune system is working, they can feel good and ready to play, they're not going to be able to learn verbal speech, okay? Only children who feel well enough to talk. Think about your own self. If you're not feeling well just because you have a cold or the flu or a stomach ache, you don't feel like talking. You communicate non-verbally. You push people away. You go into your own self. So children who don't feel well, who are medically ill or sick, have a very challenging time learning to talk or learning anything, actually. So any kind of therapy, behavior therapy, because your child also may have a lot of behaviors due to their illness. Maybe they have pain. Maybe they feel pressure. Maybe their sensory systems aren't in order. You know, they have some real physiological things going on with them, and you try to do behavior therapy on top of that, it's not going to help. So intuitively, when you understand the root of your child's problem and you know that it's a medical issue, then the intervention method you choose must address that medical issue first and foremost. And then once your child is well, then you can take another look at these behavior interventions. So once you do your chiropractor, your diet, your biomedical, your ear, nose, and throat intervention with the doctors, this is when you can consciously decide. So the first way to realize that if you should stop it or not do it yet is your medical issues are not yet completely resolved before you start behavior therapy. So that's the first reason that you would want to stop it or not start it. Okay, and then the other thing is if you have ruled out medical reasons that you can address with doctors, and or once you get to that point, then you really have to start to use your intuition to understand if any intervention method you have is working for your child or is going to be a good way to do it for your child. Let me grab a drink here real quick. Okay, so the first way that you're going to analyze, this is how you're going to figure it out. You're going to intuitively analyze all the different aspects about this situation. So, because it's not just a therapy method that we're considering here. Not all ABA is the same, not all ABA practitioners are the same, and certainly not all children are the same, even in the same family. So you can have triplets and they're all different in the same family. So each child, you have to consider each child, not your family dynamic, not, you know, it all has to come down to decision based on the child's needs and skills before you make a decision about the therapy. Based on diagnosis, whatever anybody else did, it doesn't matter. Every decision about your child, of course, I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to because a lot of people don't. They make their decisions based on what other people do or what other people recommend, and they don't intuitively use what they know is best for their individual child in their individual family. So what you need to look at first is your child's abilities, or what I like to call their superpowers. What is your child super good at? How does your child love to learn? You know this by watching them and knowing what they love to spend their time doing. If your child loves to spend their time on video, if your child loves to spend their time with trains, if you love to spend your child rocking in the corner, jumping, running, whatever your child loves to do, that's their superpower. And whatever intervention you choose to use must not only accommodate this superpower, it must embrace this superpower. Because something like talking requires an all-in effort from your child. They're going to have to change from whatever they're using now to communicate, whether it's gestures or relying on you to guess what's going on in their mind. You know, that's what most late talkers do. Until they're empowered to use their own verbal speech, they're going to use what's handy, including you, to recommend, to say the words that they want to be said instead of having to do it themselves. They think talking is hard and they don't like it. So they're going to use everything else that they can to try to communicate instead. And to get a child to buy into verbal speech, they've got to be all in to the method. They've got to be all in. They can't be skeptical about it, and neither can you. So if you start to feel skepticism, then you need to start digging deeper, okay? So the intervention method should embrace and use your child's superpower to teach them, because that's the way they want to learn. And most late talkers, no matter what their diagnosis, want to talk. They want to be like their friends. They want to tell you what's on their mind. They just don't know how to learn. And they're stuck in their current ways because whatever ways have been presented to them so far haven't gelled. And so in order for you to figure out the one that's going to gel with them, you have to do this intuitive analysis. And that's why I keep coming back to this. So you need to first analyze, is this method using my child's superpower? And then you have to look at the practitioner who's going to be doing it. Is it going to be somebody who understands how your child communicates right now? Because your child needs to work with somebody who gets them, who understands them where they are in their own world. Because late talkers look so different, you need to find the practitioner who can gel with your kiddo. If you're not going to do it yourself, like we know that parents gel with their kids. But if this ABA therapy, whatever therapy that you have going on, if that therapist doesn't gel and understand and speak your child's language, at least to the beginning, then your child's going to have a hard time connecting with them and learning from them. Because if a child already is withdrawing in their world, in their own bubble, and they're not out in the world talking, and you're trying to get them out of that world into joining other people, but you're not joining them where they are to start with, you're just kind of forcing them out into the cold without a jacket, is kind of how it is, or throwing them into the deep water. You're bringing them out of their world into your world instead of going into their world first. And in order to do that with any kind of therapy, intuitively, you as parents know this. You know when you can connect with your child and get them to do stuff for you, follow your directions, come with you, get you to do stuff, right? And you know when your efforts don't work. That's when you try to find a therapist, right? Because you're like, whatever I'm doing isn't working. I need to have somebody else with some different ideas. And that person presents different ideas. And if those ideas don't work either, then you need to understand that. So you always need to be checking. You need to know the practitioner connects with your child, and you need to be knowing that everything they are doing every day is directing your child toward the improvement that you want to see as parents. And again, the recommendation for this is to go inside and look at yourself and look at your child and look at how they feel about the learning. So how do they feel about the practitioner? Do they love to see the practitioner every day? Do they connect with them? Do they run and hold their hand? Or do you have a hard time getting them in the door? And when they're with your practitioner, at the end of the day, when you see their practitioner, do they not want to leave that person, or do they can't wait to get out of there and run to your arms? These are intuitive clues that you as parents can use to decide if the practitioner that you're working with is the right one for your child. And if not, then it's time for a change, okay? Because if you don't change away from these things that your child wants to run away from, then you're never going to get the connection you need. So pay attention to your child's reaction to the people and the interventions that are presented to them at the therapy of your choice. If the child loves doing it, can't wait to go every day, on days off, talk about that person and that experience, then you know you're in the right place, because your child is interested enough in learning that they are looking forward to and anticipating these learning experiences, instead of looking at the circumstance like a chore. Like you would go to a job that you felt was beneath you, even though the pay was good, or you maybe feel as if you're going to a job that the pay is great, but it's just so irritating to be around the people and do the job that you just don't like going there every day. But you feel some sense of responsibility because this job feeds your family and whatever. Those feelings, whenever you feel like that about a job that you go to every day, you even can look about it if you don't go to a job. You can look at how you feel about what you do every day and how you do it. If you're stuck in, home all day long, cooking and cleaning and watching children while other people get to go out in the world and you don't like that, then you have to change that's happening with you. Anytime something doesn't feel right, it's not going to help you progress. And the whole point of therapy of any kind, behavior therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, is progress, right? So this is what's important for you to intuitively analyze about the therapy situation that you are investigating or you're in right now. Think really hard about how you and your child feel about this therapy. And if you need a little guidance, here's a little checklist. Whoops, my camera moved. All right, so you want to go through a whole inventory of the feelings that you have about this intervention, and start with happy. What about this intervention makes me feel happy? And what about this intervention makes my child feel happy? And then you move on to worried. What about this intervention makes me feel worried? What about this intervention makes my child feel worried? And if there is nothing, then nothing will resonate. These feelings will hit you immediately when you use your intuition. So you just want to quietly think about this. What makes me happy about it? What makes me afraid? What makes me anxious? What makes me skeptical? What makes me concerned? What makes me excited to take my child there? What makes me excited to learn more about this? What makes me feel hopeful that my child's going to talk or behave or sit in the car or do whatever it is that you're hoping for them to do? Because your intervention method that you choose needs to have a lot of these feelings, a lot of the hopeful, encouraged, happy, excited. It needs to have a lot of those on that side of the spectrum. And it needs to have few or none of worry, skepticism, afraid, anxious, impatient, distrustful, skeptical, any of those things that make you question, why am I bringing my child here? If you're driving in traffic and traffic is terrible to have to get to this place, are you second guessing, man, is it worth the travel? Is it worth the traffic? Because if it is, and you have to drive 2 hours for this intervention method, but it is earth-shattering, changing your child's life, then, you can use that 2-hour time in the car to do your own language facilitation on the way there. It's kind of how I feel about it, because that must be some amazing intervention for you to put that much effort into it. So that's the other way to consider intuitively if it's the right thing for you, is all of the effort and energy that you put into this thing. And energy includes your finances. Is it worth the money we pay? Is our return on investment what we hope? These ABA people say your child's going to make improvement right away, and they do. They make improvement and they learn behaviors. But is that what you're paying for? So that's the other thing you have to intuitively consider is this intervention worth the investment that you have made to have your child go through this? Because it's always something different than what you're doing at home if it's therapy. Because if it's the same as what you're doing at home, then, and you're paying money or doing effort for it, I don't understand why, unless that practitioner is teaching you how to do it at home. And that's the other thing that I want to tell you is consider now what you do at home and what you do with your child when they're not at therapy. Think about what you do on vacations, on holidays, when you travel away, or when there's just a day off on the weekend with your child. And consider how much more or less effective you as a parent, language facilitating, teaching your child the words they need every day while you're hanging out watching videos or going to the park or getting dressed or just making forts in your living room. Think about your child, how you feel your child is learning from those natural experiences you're providing your child versus how they are responding to therapy. And if you find that over the summer break or the break from the therapy that you see more from your child, then that's a way for you to intuitively know that maybe you need to change your approach to something that's more like what you do at home instead of more like what the therapy is offering you. Because every therapy is different. Every speech therapist is different. Every ABA therapist is different. Every clinic is different, and every child is different. And in order for therapy to work for a child, to solve the problems that the child is experiencing, it needs to focus on them and their superpower and not what everyone else thinks the child should be doing instead of their superpower. That's how it works. That's how you know if it works for your child, because you know your child's superpower. And when you embrace it and honor it and use it as a tool, that's when your kids buy in, because Superman doesn't want to try to learn how to throw spider webs like Spider-Man. He's got other skills. Spider-Man, he doesn't want to have, the same kind of ability to fly because he needs his webs to do his thing. Every person has their own superpower, and that includes the parents. So, and it includes the therapists. So what happens is you have to match your parenting style with your child's superpower to help them, and you have to match the therapist's superpower with your child's superpower to make a match to get the kind of intervention and improvement that resonates and feels good in your space and how your child is. Because maybe your child is 2 or maybe your child is 10. They're all late talking for a different reason. And in order to find out what is going on and break through the barriers and blockages that are stopping the natural learning of language that happens for every late talker, you know, you have to, unless you eliminate those blockages, they're just going to remain and you're going to stay stuck. And like I said at the beginning, the therapy, no matter what it is going to feel like putting a Band-Aid on a heart attack, because it's not addressing the root problem that caused the high cholesterol or the blood work or the anxiety or the high blood pressure that caused the heart attack in the first place. So this is what you need to do to analyze the therapy that you have going on or you're considering for your child. I hope that this video was helpful. I didn't see any questions for discussion, but I did see a few likes. If you are looking for an alternative, a lot of parents think that they stay in these programs and therapies even though they don't resonate with them because they think that that's the only option they have, and that's not true. The most important thing that you need to remember as a parent of a child who has, you know, challenges to live in our 3D world. And if they have challenges with communication and talking, then that's a big challenge of living in our 3D world. And if you want to help your child overcome those challenges, then you have to embrace your power and your child's power. Don't give up your power to change and help your child to any doctor, any therapist, any medicine, anything. You have to use your own superpower as a parent, and that's how you see the improvement with your child. And I've proven it with parents all over the world. So I hope this resonated with you and you were able to start to think about your child's therapy. If you know someone who is considering a therapy, if they're not happy with what's going on, and you know this because they complain about it all the time, then show them this video and help them consider what they're doing so that they can make choices about intervention for their child that feels good for them and embraces their power and doesn't waste it and waste time just hoping things will happen on skeptical methods that you don't have 100% trust and faith in. So if you're skeptical at all, that's a blockage right there. So it's important that you do this. It's important that you intuitively analyze what's going on for your child. And your nonverbal children need you to do this for them so that they can feel happy and excited and hopeful and optimistic about their future. Because if you feel skeptical and those negative feelings about this therapy, your child definitely feels the same thing. And if you feel happy and excited about this therapy, your child definitely feels the same thing. So use your intuitive superpower to analyze your child's feelings and help you and your partner make decisions for your child that match those feelings and embrace your power and help you move forward and see progress that you want. Okay, everybody, thanks so much for joining me on this live today. If you are interested in working with me, you can find out more on my website, wavesofcommunication.com, and I can give you an alternative and show you exactly how to help your child learn to use the words they need to share their wisdom with the world in a way that is exciting and happy and follows all of their interests and ideas. So I look forward to joining you next time on my next live video. And until then, you can see all my videos on my YouTube channel. So check it out too. And I'll see you on my next one. Have a great day, everybody.